How's it going, man?
Oh, living the dream.
Yeah, yeah, you kind of are actually, aren't you? Um,
You still have some
so
daylight. You must be over here on the West Coast with me.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm in Seattle. It gets dark here. Gets dark here late.
I,
Yeah, I'm
I,
in I'm in Southern California, so I got it about the same time as you. You survived the tropical storm and the
and
earthquake. I'm trying not to be that guy that's online like fuck the media kind of a thing, but they hyped it so big. I'm in Huntington Beach, right on the ocean. Yeah. We were supposed to get like 7 to 10 inches of rain and 75-mile-per-hour wind, and we got nothing. We got like 4 hours of
Nothing.
we got 4 hours of rain, and it wasn't even heavy enough to like. There was no flooding. There was no problem or
Okay,
anything.
well that's good.
It's really good because my garage leaks every time it rains heavy, and that was like
Did
no
you feel
leak
the
is a good
earthquake?
thing. I didn't. I was asleep.
Kind
I had a long weekend. I
of,
fell asleep mid Sunday.
he
I
just thought he just thought he had gas.
mean, granted, it was in Ojai, so it was probably 3 hours,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
my son said he felt it a little bit, and the rest of us were like, we were sleeping, chilling, relaxing on a Sunday.
Well, I'm glad you survived. I'm glad to know your garage remains unflooded,
It's
etc.
intact. I work in my garage, so flooding the garage is a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Print shop in the garage and like flood.
Yep,
Yeah, not good. Not
doesn't
good.
work well. So,
Dave,
but we're here.
we
We're
we
here.
are
Sorry
here.
about all the troubles with scheduling and
It,
whatnot.
it,
Not at all.
it is all good, dude. It's all good. Um, I see you just are you just back from your Euro tour now with
Yeah.
your thing? Um, how was that, man?
Yeah, it wasn't just urethane. We played with a bunch of bands. We did a couple with urethane. We did a couple with Versus the World. We did one with Good Riddance. We did a few headlining shows. We did a couple of festivals. It ruled. We all had a blast. It was so awesome. Really, truly, we just had the best time ever, and it was super fun. And yeah, it had been a long time. Definitely a different experience as a 50-year-old dude, and modern technology helps with the van rides and staying connected, and being able to like work a little in the van, and certainly just like get in your own zone, and you know keep up with the previous nights, Instagram posts and what's happening in the world, and certainly in the old days, you'd have to find a payphone to call somebody and,
Yeah.
sort of stay
What's going on,
connected
dude?
and
What's going on?
totally like none of that anymore. And yeah, man, it was just such a joy. Everybody was just so stoked to, you know, uh, have us back and playing. And, we had people fly in from other countries and come to several shows, and people were just so nice. And, there's also something about, 20 plus years ago when we were doing this, we were just like another band among many that were sort of on the scene, like a sort of contemporary band. And, viewed through the lens of, a couple of decades in the rear view, like I can really experience that we were like an important band for people. And certainly not true of
Yeah.
everybody that showed up. I'm sure there were casual fans there, people just looking for some nostalgia, but heard enough stories to know it's true that, for me, those bands may have been, Metallica and Motley Crue and,
Right.
whatever else. But, for some people, Diesel Boy was like an important band, like a mile marker on their, you know, journey to adulthood or whatever. And, that feels amazing. And seeing their kids show up at shows and all that stuff is just really rewarding and satisfying. And, half the band is sober, so I wasn't worried about, is anyone going to not show up for band call, or
Right.
is somebody not going to be prepared to play? Like, it was just a way more adult and kind of grown up touring experience, and the fans were older too, for the most part.
Yeah.
The sober thing's a
Absolutely.
good topic to bring up in a little bit, but I mean, you just described me, because for me, you guys were one of the bands, and I'm only 4 or 5 years younger than you, but like coming through high school and coming out of high school, Diesel Boy, that cock rock album was like, to me, that was like, holy shit, like I finally belong. Like, this is the sound that I've been looking for. And it,
Yeah.
like, I'd been through the Green Days and the Offsprings and the things like that, but it was the cock rock album that I was just like, all right, now we're gonna go. Like, now we're here, now we're doing it.
And so
That's
for
awesome.
me, I mean, that to me was the growing up period was when that came out. That
Yeah.
was the time that I really found my place.
Well, thank you for saying that. It's nice to hear. I'll never get tired of hearing that. And, you know, that's a big part of the reason why, you know, I think a lot of musicians play music. I mean, of course, you want the girls or the boys or whatever else, and it's nice to hear people cheer for you, but you want that feeling, that feeling that music gives you in a way that only sort of music can, to be able to sort of like offer that up and give that back in some way is incredibly meaningful. So I appreciate that, and thank you, and I'm honored to be a part of your past in that way.
Well, even not even just the past, but this year, and it's probably behind this one here, but I mean, I spoiled the surprise, but this year for my birthday, my wife finally found the Cock Rock vinyl, which has eluded me for years.
I'm sorry for whatever she had to pay for that. I know.
It was, yeah, I didn't ask, but it was ridiculous. And I ordered so many albums. Like, this is just a part of my collection behind me, but I ordered so many albums. I got the record came in the mail and I didn't even look at the label, and I ripped it open. I was like, wait, I didn't order this. And I was like, oh shit. Like, I screwed that up big time. And she was like, well, okay, happy birthday, whatever. Like,
yeah, a lot of people have been asking about reissues, and my assumption is we'll get to that at some point. Whether we'll do them all, I don't know, but they're all out of print, and it pains me that people have to pay large sums of money for the records, but I do it too. I'm a record nerd also, so I get it. But the one that your wife got you will always be the OG pressing or whatever. But it would be nice to be able to get them back in print at some point if we can figure that out.
That would be great. So
hanging on Matt's fanboying. I had the honor of interviewing you 2 years ago, and I know I fanboyed in that interview because Diesel Boy for me was one of those bands that really it stood out for me above the fat bands and stuff. Like it stood out so much that I became just instant fan, true fan. You can't put out a shitty song. There's no
I don't know about that.
Well, in my opinion. And being on this, I have to go back to our interview 2 years ago where I told you needed to get the band back together.
Okay.
Because we needed Diesel Boy back. We joked around this and that. I told you, I'll drive your van, I'll drive your bus. And you were like, we don't have a bus. And I told you, I will steal you a bus. Drive it. And I will still
trying to get us all arrested for Grand Theft Auto. Come on, man.
Just put it on Trevor. Just leave it on him. It can go all
put it on me. I don't care.
Just know it was stolen, officer.
Just as long as we get to do it.
Some Canuck said he would steal us a van, and here it is.
Some crazy Canadian, man. Like I don't even know this guy. He keeps talking like I know. I am beyond stoked that after having that opportunity to talk to you,
man, it was all you. I was like, man, that dude wants us to get back together. Let's fucking do it. That was it. That was the nudge we needed, man.
Yeah. You're
maybe
just
not 100%, but definitely a big part of the nudge. So proud, and
it's got to be in credit. The liner notes of the next album.
Next album. The next album. No, but I am seriously stoked, Dave, that you guys have put out this new album. It's a banger. Like, my friends who are also diehard Diesel Boy fans listen to it and they're just like, this is Diesel Boy. Hear it.
And I won't lie. And I won't lie. And I'm going to be the honest truth. And Dave, I think you'll actually appreciate this. Being the vinyl guy.
Here we go. All right, here we go.
Being the vinyl guy that you are. I haven't listened to it yet for a very good reason. I haven't received my vinyl yet. And when I listen to it, I want to hear it on vinyl for the first time. So I'm holding out on purpose, not because I don't want to hear it, but because I want to put it on my turntable and hear it.
I don't have that kind of self-control. If there's something I want to hear, I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'm going on Spotify or whatever.
Normally I don't, but this is going to be a religious experience for me. So
okay, good.
It's got to be.
I hope it doesn't disappoint. And we saw Stefan, who runs SBAM, when we were in Austria, and I think he has the LPs, or he'll have them any moment, so they should start getting shipped out soon. We had the pressing plant had delays, and they made 100 for us to sell while we were over there. So I did actually get to see it and hold it in my hand. I forgot to pack one for myself coming home, man. So I'll have to wait till we get some shipped. But yeah, it looks great. The CDs look great too, and yeah, I hope it. I hope it lives up to.
I own a record label as well, so I understand the trials and tribulations of the vinyl pressing market right now. It's not an easy thing. It's definitely it's been a headache trying to get anything done.
Yeah, we really tried to make a record that our fans would appreciate, but also hopefully feel like, we're moving forward a little. I don't really know what that looks like. I guess we've always been a band that doesn't want to be too beholden to whatever skate punk band is supposed to do or a pop punk band is supposed to do, because we don't want to be too limiting. But certainly we're aware that there's some subset of people who like, you can always read the comments, on Facebook or Instagram. People are like, the tempos are really slow. Like, needs to be faster. Where's all the songs faster? You're like Beavis and Butthead. So there's some amount of juggling you got to do to sort of hit that sweet spot of, wanting to, make a record that sort of is true to the band, but that also reflects kind of where we are as, humans in 2023.
I'm anticipating a good album. Like I said, I just want to wait. I've got
the reviews have been really good, which is weird. We were driving in Europe and, we kept reading these reviews. It was like, this is weird. Like, we're never a band that got good reviews before. Like, what the hell? Where is this coming on? Good press? What the hell is going on here? An afterthought, like, oh yeah, Diesel Boy, the band not good enough to be on Fat Records, or whatever it was.
I have my opinions about Fat Records, so I won't go too far into that one.
Well, while we're sort of on the topic, SBAM, how did that all come about?
Yeah, so Stefan had been messaging me for years, and he started as an artist making posters and doing, flyers and stuff like that in Europe. He's based in Austria. And so, he'd reached out several years ago. At some point he started a label and started reaching out and was like, hey, if the band ever gets back together, I'd love to put out your records. So I think, and a few other labels had reached out over the years expressing similar sentiments. So there was a thought that if we could get our shit together and make a record, that we could probably find somebody to give us money to put it out and record it and sort of do the thing. It took us a while. Like, two of the guys from the old days, aren't in the band anymore, didn't want to do it, weren't able to do it. So it took time to find the right guys and the right mix of stuff. And we spent like over a year just kind of working on the songs in the basement and kind of honing them and getting them, getting them into sort of recording shape, which is a long time. And I mean, it's also harder because, we don't live in the studio like we used to in the old days. Right. So as we sort of started to get our shit together, SBAM had grown, and they'd started to sign a bunch of bands from our era, like, Pulley, and they've got Snuff, and they got Bracket, and newer bands too. And he was really enthusiastic about wanting to do it, like a really big Diesel Boy fan, and really excited about the record. And, that kind of goes a long way. And so, we were sort of like, well, this is how much we want to make a record. Here's our expectations. And he was like, done. So it just kind of made sense. They seemed to be growing at the same time that, and dedicated to wanting to sort of, do this for us. And so we hoped that excitement and the desire to really want to put out the record would make SBAM a good partner.
Yeah, and I'm hoping they bring you guys to SoCal, or you guys make it back to SoCal, like Orange County specifically. They just picked up a band a couple weeks ago, a local band that I do merchandise for that are friends of mine, and man, would I love to come see them open for you. I think that would
Yeah,
be
we're working on that right now. Actually, we're working on
awesome.
some like
Awesome.
the plan is to do. We're not going to tour. Maybe do one trip a year, probably overseas somewhere, and then a couple of times a year we'll play like Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. So we're working on. We'll have announcements on some dates, probably SoCal included, in the next couple of weeks here.
Well, I'll drop the name just so you pick it up when you come down here. But Taken Days just got picked up by SBAM, and
Okay, cool.
they're right in line with
yeah. I think I just watched the video for that the other day or something. I got
they're
I'm
good
on
boys.
a million. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, they're good boys, good band. They would definitely.
What is your association with them?
I do their merchandise.
Cool.
So that, and we're friends. I'm friends with everybody in the band. So, and they're all in different bands, and I work with all of their bands and stuff. So it's kind of a nice. As soon as we heard that noise, they were on Wiretap before, and so they stepped up from Wiretap into SBAM, and we'd love to see it. It'd be.
I'm
awesome.
going to go out on a limb and guess that your label is called Fifth Day Records.
How would you guess that? Or where would that come from? and I was going to say, if you need a band,
very intuitive.
If you need a band in Arizona, I got one there too, because we just picked up a pop punk band out in Arizona. But
I'm right here.
Actually, and your label is called Lagwagon.
Yeah,
I'm in Lagwagon. Yeah.
He's on the Lagwagon. He's on the Lagwagon bandwagon. So it's.
Oh shit! Yeah.
So Dave, what was the process? The 10 years or however many years you guys were kind of shut down? Like, I know you started another band.
8 years.
How'd
like
that work?
2 decades.
20 years, 10 years, 20 years. We're old now, so like time is relative.
The first 10 years, I just didn't really have interest in wanting to do it anymore. I sort of got a real job and sold out and enjoyed making money. And, I got married and had some kids, and then divorced and still have the kids. But there was a long time where I don't know, I felt like it had kind of run its course. And I don't know, was interested in exploring other, you have to give up a lot to be, in a full-time band. And I was, I guess, a little tired of giving up the other facets of my life, professionally, relationship wise, all that stuff, wanted to have a family. So I was really focused on that stuff, and, maybe I picked up a guitar, but I wasn't writing songs and wasn't playing very often. And then maybe, 10 years ago, the guys and I started talking about, maybe trying to do it again. And, we wrote a bunch of songs. This was, the lineup that played on Sofa King Cool and Rode Hard and Put Away Wet. We wrote a bunch of songs, not quite enough for a record, but maybe enough stuff for 3/4 of a record, half a record. And, it was a little challenging. Technology hadn't evolved to the point that it is now, where I can make a demo, and send it around to everybody easily. It's much easier now for everyone to kind of learn songs remotely and then get in the room and play. It was a little harder back then. And so, and I even sent, it was maybe 10 songs or something. I sent it to Fat Mike, and he was like, yeah, he's like, I like about half of this, like, write this many more. And, I'd be into putting out the record. But we never got it together. We just never finished. We just, we sort of ran out of steam. And then geographically, it was hard. I was the only one in Seattle. Everybody else was still in the Bay Area, and families and, other work, jobs, other obligations. It just, just never kind of happened. And then, for a few years I had another band, and I enjoyed that. But a whole different thing, nobody came to see us play. Nobody gave a shit. It's fine. Not that I expected it. But definitely a grind, and, hard to, it's all hard. It's all hard at this age. It's hard to get your friends to come to see you on a Sunday night and get a babysitter and, stay up until midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning to watch you play at some shitty bar. And Greg and I started chatting over the pandemic, and, I think we were, we had this sense that, like, all the bands that are sort of still at it, like the biggest bands in the scene, are all bands from our era, like all of our friends, and they're still at it and still going. And, we could see that people were still streaming the records on the streaming services. People would reach out and, express interest, or, I think we just had a sense, well, maybe there's some opportunity here if we can get this together. That was the hope. And I guess we just thought that the best way to kind of set ourselves up for a rebirth or what have you was to make a record. At least it would give us a reason to kind of get in a room and to, sort of get to know each other again and play and sort of just go through the process again, as opposed to just trying to like book some shows and going and playing. So, it was nice to do it that way. We made a record and, now that's out and we can sort of start to figure out the rest of it. Like I was saying, we did that short tour in Europe. We're going to do some stuff in the States, and, we're kind of still trying to figure out how we can make it work. But the idea was like, can we add this into our lives in some way? Let's not be a slave to it. It's not going to be our jobs. Like, can we just do it? Can we pick and choose what we want to do and, do it at a high level, but, it doesn't have to be our full-time job. And maybe it can just be kind of like a thing that we can dip our toes into and get joy from. And a lot of the joy really comes from the work. I mean, I think you have to just enjoy the process. We had a ball writing the songs and working on the record and recording the record and just being on the road. Like, there's no money to be made here, not much anyway, like if it can pay for itself, great. So it's really just sort of like the joy of doing it, being able to be back and, a part of that scene that, we were so appreciative of and that gave us so much. And, yeah.
That's awesome.
And touching on that, the writing process, how was that with you guys nowadays, as opposed to say 15 years ago or whatever, 20 years ago, with new technology? Are you guys like doing remote kind of stuff where you're recording something, you're sending it over here, getting kind of opinions, or were you guys actually like, we need to kind of be in the same room and kind of bounce these ideas off each other?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, the process essentially is the same, that I write, the vast majority of the stuff. I tend to not spend a lot of time working on the arrangements, like I've got the parts, I know it'll be whatever, 2 verses, 2 choruses, and a bridge. In the old days, I wouldn't really demo. We had a studio and we were there all the time. So if I was working on something, I would bring something in, play it through, show it to the guys, and we'd sort of learn it and start working on it. These days, I'll make a demo and I play the bass and, I'll have some of the guitar parts worked out. But often, and I'll use fake drums, and then often, sometimes and usually, I guess it just depends on the song, but sometimes like the drummer won't want to hear any drums at all because he doesn't want to be like, he'll be like, just send me a version without drums. And then he'll go in and put his drums down.
Yeah. I don't want to hear your idea of it.
And really none of these are like good ideas. It's just sort of like, what's the sort of path of least resistance to sort of capturing what I want. And so we'll still, the nice thing is that everybody, when we show up to play through a song, someone can click it off and we can just go. And everybody kind of knows their parts. So 3 of the 4 of us are in Seattle, and one of us, Greg, is still in the Bay Area. So a lot of times he's just got the demo. He can write his bass parts to that. And then, we can make a recording on our phone or whatever and send it to him, so he gets a sense of like sort of what the dynamics are. So technology has definitely helped, but still, I would say maybe 80% of it, I guess it depends on the song, is sort of like together. The genesis of the idea is together before we start working on it. And then, we really refine it together. The parts come together, how it's going to start, what are the dynamics in the verse and the second verse, or, how does it end? Do we do a third chorus? All that stuff we kind of work on together.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, my apologies. Speaking of technology, my camera keeps cutting out. So I keep disappearing off because I'm trying to figure out what's going on, but that's beside the point.
That's fine.
Fucking technology.
I'll just cut you out.
Yeah, just axe me when you need to.
Oh, fucking. So, you touched on it a little bit earlier, like how have you really seen your uh being received back into the punk rock community after being away for so long? I know your first song on the new album, A Lost Decade, you talk about being gone and like, did anybody even notice we were gone? Like, obviously we did. We did. We missed you, Dave. We're glad you guys are back. But I know you did touch on it and it's been pretty good, but like maybe you could elaborate a little more. Like, um, obviously you probably weren't expecting as much of a good reception back, like based on Lost Decade alone. Like you were like doubting it. You were,
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, I think that question would loom in anyone's mind after being gone for so long. You know, is anyone going to remember? Is anyone going to care? And I think, one of our biggest challenges is like getting the word out that we're back. We have not had social media the last 20 years. We haven't kept an Instagram, and we had a Facebook for a while that got hacked and destroyed. And so we lost that and had to start over. So, it's not like we've been around or, like it's sort of like for a lot of people there, we have a US booking agent we're working with, and she was telling, some friends that she was booking us, and they were like, oh, Diesel Boy's back. So, there's some subset of, maybe people who are still really connected to the scene that, know, but maybe there's people who, were less diehard fans or just, aren't as connected to the scene anymore. So I think it's been a challenge, or remains a challenge, to kind of get the word out. I haven't seen a lot of chatter or people saying like, man, what the world didn't need was another Diesel Boy record. Gratefully, I think the people that are covering it are people who are fans or who are into it. And there's been, I guess, some people who are maybe skeptical and, were enjoyed the output or whatever. But people have been great. But, again, these are people coming to our shows and talking to me. And, does the vast majority of the punk community care? I don't know. I mean, we were never a huge band. We were always like a medium-sized band or whatever. So, but yeah, I mean, I think, it's been great. Really, like I got nothing. I mean, it's been lovely. It's nice that, people like you guys are still interested, and, we're all grateful that, we sort of get a chance to do this again. It's like, it's just rare. And really, and it's even weirder, that like we all have our normal lives, and, we just sort of like step over here and like do this weird thing every so often. And then,
Diesel Boy.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
I think it's a good, yeah, definitely a good thing to bring that back. And I'm seeing a resurgence, even, some of the bands that have been active but not in the spotlight for a long time. You got a lot of big bands that kind of it's weird to say disappeared, but just it fell out of common space. And you're seeing them tour again, you're seeing them play again. I just saw Guttermouth play, and that was one of the ones that was like, well, these guys are playing everywhere, but nobody's really heard anything about them. And all of a sudden they're popping back up again. And, TSOL played just a couple days ago. And it's like, holy crap, like all these bands, there's a new movement. And I think it's us at an age, 40s, 50s kind of age, that are going, we got to bring this back. And now that we have social media, now that we have this new opportunity to really push it all out there, maybe we take advantage of what got lost over the last 20 years and really enjoy it and really put it back in the spotlight.
Yeah, and people like you now have money and the means to sort of help that, whereas well,
sort of.
Well, look, you're doing what you can. Punk rock has always been good for that. It's like
right.
Sort of a DIY kind of thing, and there's podcasts and labels and whatever, people who make videos and do art, and there's still a rich. There's still a vibrant scene, maybe not quite like it was in the 90s, but there's still a punk rock scene out there, no doubt.
Yeah, and some of these shows, even that Guttermouth show, walking into a fucking Guttermouth show, right? I mean, it was Guttermouth and Buck 09 and like all these bands that were huge in the 90s with the scene. and you walk in and it's all the same. It's all the same people, but they're a little bit older and they're a little bit crustier. And it's, you know, it's changed, but it's the same at the same time. And I gotta say, even just that show alone was like, it was like stepping back into the 90s in an older
Did you
age.
get spit on?
Probably. I mean, somewhere in the pit, I had beer spilled on me. I probably got spit on. I got punched.
Mark likes,
got,
he used to like to spit on people back in the day. He was an aggressive spitter.
I don't do the spit, but I have been spit on plenty of times. We did an Rutgers show the other night and I had a whole beer poured down the side of me. And I mean, it's just, but I mean, being out there in the scene again and that show, and I feel like if you guys came back down here, it kind of would be the same scenario where you'd walk in, you'd feel like, holy shit, I'm home. Like I've been missing this. We've done that grind. Like you said, you go back into real life and you do that grind for so many years trying to, you know, I got 4 kids now since the 90s, and you get back into that scene where I had to walk away. I had to make money. I had to get a job. I had to do the stuff to take care of the family. Now the family's kind of self-sufficient. We're doing our thing.
Yeah.
But I can go back and enjoy what I enjoyed before on a smaller level, but still as much as I did then.
And I think that's how it is for us too. You know, the kids are older. Like I've got minor teenagers. I got identical twin 15-year-old boys. You know, they're going to be sophomores in high school. Like they just don't need as much from me anymore. And, you know, they're more self-sufficient, and, you know, not that taking care of teenagers is easy by any stretch of the imagination. You know, the emotional toll is much higher than the physical toll. But yeah, for the same reasons you're saying, it's like, you know, for a while it's just intense sort of family work, and, you know, life has kind of settled down, and, you know, shake it up a little.
Yeah, it's nice to come back to it though. It's nice to have it back. Yeah. That's why I told you you got to get back down here to SoCal, because I need that like piece, that missing piece. That missing.
I grew up in Santa Monica.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You know, I think I knew that, but you know, I did the Huntington Beach, the whole Orange County scene, you know, and shows like my very first experience in a punk show was Blink before they were 182 with Backside and FYP. Oh, and since then I've got to meet Todd from FYP and hang out with him and really get to know him a little bit. And even just being around these people again, it's like there was this missing piece for so many years, and it's all coming back into place. So when you guys said you were launching a new album, it was like, yeah, it's starting to come tenfold. Like it's all coming back around. Like everything that I knew is here again. And
well, I hope everyone doesn't come in, because we need some, you know, we need some of those festival slots, and, you know, we need to, you know, we don't want to get it too crowded.
No, definitely not.
So Dave, is there any plans for coming up to Canada?
Yeah, totally. Just like Southern California, like Canada was all, I don't know where you are, but Canada.
I'm about an hour away from London, Ontario, or like 2 hours away from Toronto.
Yeah, so both of those cities were always good for us. Like, you know, Canada kind of across the board was, you know, good. And from what others are saying, you know, it's still, you know, a great place for kind of skate punk and that scene, especially Eastern Canada, was always like insane. You know, Montreal and Quebec, it was like, why are there so many people here? So yeah, it's on our list. We'll make it there eventually. You know, we got offered to do Pooza this last year, and we just didn't have it together to do it, regretfully. So, you know, maybe they'll offer again and we'll be able to come do that. There's other good, you know, I know there's Red Bridge Fest, and there's some other good festivals that we would love to do up there. So I anticipate we'll be up there at some point. How long it will take us, I don't know, but you know, sooner or later, we hope to make it to like most of those good markets. Canada, you know, sort of being close to the top of the list for sure. And if you look at our, you know, what maybe the only positive I will say about the streaming music services is that, you know, they give you data. So I have an artist account, and I can, you know, see what cities our songs are most popular in, or what our most popular songs are, which is helpful when, you know, making a set list, but also knowing sort of like, okay, these are probably the places where, you know, people are most likely to show up. And Canada, several Canadian cities are, you know, always in the top 20 or whatever.
So that's actually a really interesting topic, like having the streaming services and pulling the data. You know, like I wonder how many of these bands are tapping the data like you are, because
they all are.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, we're watching it right now with our band. It's fine. Like where are they getting big? Where are the songs being played? Like keeping an eye on how that data gets transferred. That, I mean, that's an unbelievable difference from the 90s is like, you
Yeah.
know, specifically what to play and where to play it and how it's going to affect not only you, but the fans and everybody involved. So, I mean, technologically, so much good. And I come from a marketing background. So that's like I love that shit. I'm horrible with tech, like the data, the actual data, but I love to go on and see, oh shit, there were this many listens in fucking Fresno. Like maybe we got to push that band to Fresno. You know, it's like,
Yep.
it's amazing how we can do that now.
Totally. Yeah, it was really helpful in trying to, I don't know that there were big surprises per se, but it was really helpful in making a set list for Europe, just sort of looking through the streaming services and being like, okay, these are the songs, these are the ones we got to do. Not that we stuck just to that, we wanted to throw in some stuff for us too, or that was unexpected, but at least, the majority of it, you can just sort of go by that. At least for now. We haven't been at it in a long time. So, we want to play the hits or whatever.
And it's awesome you're paying attention to the fans, because I know there are a lot of bands out there like, fuck the fans, I'm just going to play what I want.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet that's pretty punk rock, but I guess it's a reality, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, without the fans, you got nothing. So,
Tell that to Fat
them.
Mike, because that's my argument with him.
Yeah. Well, he's retiring, or at least No Effects is retiring.
Codependence will still go strong.
Yeah. He'll find others. That dude has got too much energy. He'll find other shit to
absolutely
keep him busy, no doubt.
Yeah, I actually just watched a video of you guys, like, was it fucking yesterday or the day before? Chad from Urethane posted it, and it was you guys playing Titty Twister. I'm assuming one of your last shows of the tour. And Jesus, man, like you guys still sound like, even with new members and whatnot, you guys still, your voice is fucking identical to what it was 20 fucking years ago. Like,
thank you, though.
Maybe it's my nostalgic brain, Dave. But
on that song, I can do okay. But there's a few where I'm like, it's a little bit harder to sing than it was 25 years ago. I might have to change that line here and there. But thank you. We played our last show. Our last show was with Urethane, and they're big Diesel Boy fans, which is sweet. And we had a blast hanging with those dudes. Hadn't met them previous to our European tour, and Steve Caballero's in that band, and he's a total sweetheart, and just a sweet dude. They're all great dudes. We had a really good time, and I'm sure it will not be the last time our paths cross with them. But yeah, we had a ball for sure.
That's awesome. So I'm going to spin it a little bit. You're on an interview show. So I'm going to ask you, you've done some interviews in the past.
You mean on this end or on your end? Well, I've been on both.
No, on your end. You've done some interviews. Yes. I was going to ask you, what's the most interesting one, and why is it Tony Bennett?
It's funny you say that, because I had no recollection of having met Tony Bennett. When my friend sent me that photo, I said to her, like, oh, that's funny. I totally do not remember doing this at all. For years, I've worked at various publications. When I was doing that, I was working at Microsoft for MSN, and I covered music and movies and TV. And so was at like the Billboard Music Awards, and we were interviewing bands and artists that were playing. You'd think Tony Bennett would stick in my head, and when I saw the picture, I was like, oh yeah, that kind of rings a bell. And I love Tony Bennett, but after a while, I guess it just all blurs together or whatever.
Yeah.
I will tell you that same day, we were doing these interviews kind of early in the morning. It was the Billboard Music Awards. I don't know if that still exists, but at the time they were doing them in Las Vegas. And so we were in Las Vegas, and I think our interviews were at like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. So we were like, let's get orange juice and vodka and like offer mimosas to everyone who is coming through. And I think literally no one was interested in drinking except for one band, which was Bowling for Soup, who were nominated for some kind of Billboard Music Awards. Anyway, we did the interview. We were grateful that they partook in our mimosas, and there was some kind of after party thing. And Jarrett, the singer, and I were shooting the shit, just sort of, at this little party. And I said, oh, I used to be in a pop punk band. I'm surprised that we never played together over the years or whatever. And he's like, oh, what band were you? And I said, Diesel Boy. And he his eyes got really big and he was like, shut the fuck up. Diesel Boy, I fucking love Diesel Boy. And he's like, hold on. And he calls his wife and he's like, who was I just saying was my favorite punk? And we've been, sort of fast friends, sort of good buds ever since. So I can at least thank the Billboard Music Awards for my friendship with Jarrett from Bowling for Soup. And our paths still haven't crossed on the stage, but maybe we'll get to do some shows together at some point. But he's a rad dude, and fate brought us together, and
well, if you talk to him soon, drop a message, because we'd like to get him on here. And I know my kids are infatuated with Jarrett Reddick because of all the Phineas and Ferbs and all the shit he's done outside of the music. My kids are like, wait, you might get Jarrett Reddick? Well, no, hold on a second. We've said that we'd like
I never said that. I said I want to get Jarrett
We'd like to get him. I never said we were going to get him. My kids are like, you have to get him. You've got to get him on. So, drop the line if you ever talk to him.
he is
impressed that he does the voice of Chuck E. Cheese. My kids thought that was pretty cool.
That too.
Dude, he is insanely talented. Like,
totally.
His country stuff. Like, I'm not a country man, but I can't not like Jarrett's stuff. Like, he's good at whatever he wants to do.
And he's a sweetheart of a guy. He's really like a sweetheart.
He is.
Yeah, he
is.
Like...
I follow him, on social media, and he absolutely comes off as 100%, 1,000, solid dude, and just sweetheart. Like, he's always trying to lift people up.
I'll comment on some of his TikToks or his Instagram every now and then. Once in a while, I get a response from him. But man, he's another one we'd love to have on here too. Because you're right. He's an immense talent, and he's just he seems like a sweetheart. He seems like a great guy.
I will say this about being on your end of doing interviews. Like, when I having done a lot of interviews with artists and actors and musicians or whatever. I think musicians are better interviews generally than other kind of entertainers, because they are less media trained, and their publicists aren't telling them. Actors, it was rare to get kind of a good interview with an actor, but musicians were awesome. And usually, the ones that I had the best interviews with were like the ones who were most famous and the best at doing interviews, and the ones who were used to it, and didn't have, a lot of times, some of these new bands, the egos would get in the way, and you were just like, dude, what? Come down to earth, bro. I would find it, Depeche Mode and AC/DC, great, always great, or like whatever, Journey, Cheap Trick, like the sort of pros were always the best interviews. It was always these schmucks in some new hot shit band that were arrogant and cocky and closed off, or non-answers or whatever. So
on that note, we had our inaugural interview was Milo, and Trevor tried to download the interview and it got deleted, and so he reached out to Milo. He said, "Thank you so much."
Corrupted, man. It was like, Jesus, fuck, are you joking me? Are you fucking joking me?
And he did it again. He reaches out to Milo and he says, "Hey, bro, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you ever have it in your heart to do it again, unfortunately it got deleted." Milo goes, "How about next Friday, same time?"
How about
he did it again.
God bless him.
And he walked on, such a professional. Before we started recording, he walks in and he goes, "Well, at least now I know the questions. It'll be a little bit easier."
Yeah, good like for that. Good, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
And he was amazing. And you're right. Those bigger, I would consider him to be one of those bigger, more professional bands. And he just was so gracious and so professional about it. And but at the same time, let's just do it again. Why not? Yeah. So I think we ran half an hour longer the second time than we did the first time.
Well, listen, here's a fair warning. You guys delete this shit, you ain't getting me for another hour.
That's all right. We get there. Trevor won't, trust me.
It's okay. It's automatically recording. I'm really fucking hoping nothing happens.
That's what the
After that
cloud's for. You just put it in the cloud.
After that
It's
experience,
going to the
Trevor,
cloud right now.
yeah, after that experience, Trevor will not make that mistake again. I guarantee it.
Yeah. No, I make sure everything's like triple checked for. I do the recording.
I've been there. There's nothing worse than that. Like you get home and your tape recorder, it's the fucking worst.
Oh, yeah.
I was
What's on the plate for the future with Diesel Boy and say the next 6 months? What are you planning?
Yeah, we'll have a couple of runs of shows before the end of the year. We'll have one more thing. We did warm-up shows for Europe in Portland, Seattle. We'll have something else in Seattle towards the end of the year, supporting another band, which should be announced soon. And beyond that, we haven't quite. It'll probably be more of the same, like weekend runs. I don't know. Our agent was just bugging me to figure out what we're going to do in Q1 of 24. So it'll probably be similar kind of thing. A couple of Friday, Saturday, Sunday runs. Stuff comes up. I mean, if we get offered cool things, then we can do it. Great. I've got my kids half the time. I'm a single dad, so my schedule is somewhat limited. I already, the band knows and our agent knows we're going to have to say no to a lot of stuff. So everybody sort of knows that, unfortunately, that's just going to, be how it is.
Much respect to that, Dave.
Thanks.
Doing this, your regular job as well, and being a dad, single dad on top of that. Fucking massive respect. Cheers, man.
We also recorded. So when we made the record, we left 2 songs off the record, and it was hard. It was hard to figure out which ones. It's like, well, we don't want to leave we don't want to do like the 2 shittiest songs and leave those. It was hard to pick which ones. So we left. 2 songs off the record that we'll do as a 7-inch at some point. Also. I don't know, maybe in the spring or something. Haven't quite figured that out. And beyond that, I don't know. No grand plans other than to just kind of work when we can. Will we make another record? I hope so. Haven't started writing. We're just we're trying to still kind of figuring out how to do this. Getting that European tour under the belt was really great. We'll probably do something similar next year. And slowly start, hitting different parts of the country that were good for us,
So Trevor, let's try to roll into the 3 questions. And I remember 2. I remember 2. So I'll start with 1 and then let's see if you can pick up from there. Dave, one of the things on Rules of the Pit is we do 3 questions at the end. And normally we have like 3 other guys that are in here to help us back us up with this. We'll try to do it on our own here. Number 1, and I'll ask this one. Causes. Is there a specific cause or nonprofit or social social what's wrong with my brain? Any kind of social cause that you're real big on right now, or anybody you support that we give it a shout out to?
For many years, I volunteered at an animal welfare organization with the dogs. It's basically a nonprofit animal shelter, a no-kill shelter, and I volunteered with the dogs. Time doesn't allow me to do that as much. They're called Paws here in Seattle, but for years I worked in the kennels and tried to get homeless dogs a new home. And back in the day, we would, if we had charity stuff, the band would always give to guide dogs for the blind. So big fans of the puppers and any, pupper related causes. We're not really a political band. We don't do a lot of politics, not that I don't keep up, but tend to keep our charitable stuff to, animals and stuff like that.
That's in my heart. I've done cat rescue for over 25 years. So kind of the same thing, but the cats instead of the dogs. And so
I would go say hi to the cats, but I'm more of a dog person than a cat person. But
I have both.
We have 2 dog in the band. There's 2 dog people and 2 cat people. So, it's always a fierce battle.
Somebody has to have a rooster though.
You think
one has to have a
no cocks in this.
No cocks in the band. No cocks in Diesel.
I don't even know what you'd consider me. I've got 2 fucking chihuahuas. Am I a cat?
You're a cat
or a
person.
dog
Yeah, they're kind of
Yeah,
cats.
I'm kidding. I'm
so-
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We love Chihuahuas just as much as Great Danes.
Yeah. At least they shit outside.
There you go.
Which is a change for Chihuahuas because I have 2 Chihuahua mixes. Not so much.
Oh,
They're charming. I've had a Chihuahua. He was, he was a big personality. That Chihuahua, man.
big
Good Lord.
personality and
Yeah.
big snugglers. Like
Totally. He
Yep.
slept under the
under
covers.
blanket.
Yep,
Yeah.
Under the
always.
blanket.
Go
All
ahead,
right,
Trev.
what was your second one? I don't know what.
You don't remember the
what
second
one?
one?
No, what's your second one?
You want me to go 2 ahead? No, go ahead. I
Yeah, you
remember
might-
the third. I remember the
All
third.
right.
So go ahead.
All right. Well, hopefully, I'm not going to say the third because.
Well, if you
Um,
if you say the third, I'll say the second. So go ahead.
All right. Perfect. So, rules of the pit. Main rule of the pit: somebody falls, you pick them up, right? So, if you had a chance to add to the rules of the pit, what kind of rule would you put out there? You know,
For sure, no groping. I don't know. I'm too old. I never enjoyed the pit. But I mean, just be, I do feel like humanity mostly is, employed in the pit. So, I think people are looking out for each other, but every once in a while you see some lady crowd surfing and she's getting her ass grabbed or there's hands, dudes are gross. And, just because you're in a big mass of people doesn't mean you should be gross. And just because you're in the pit doesn't mean you should be groping someone, man or woman. I mean, men can be groped too. So
respect to your human.
That's actually I don't think we've had that one yet. We've had quite a few interviews, and I don't think we've had that one yet. I like that. That's good. Okay, so since Trevor went with question 3, let's go question 2. Give us 2 bands that you are listening to on the regular, not necessarily big bands that have been around forever, but maybe some that give a shout out to that really deserve attention that don't have it just yet.
Let me pull up my recently added list here. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to offer you like
give us one
under the radar kind of. I mean, I can definitely give you bands. Whether they'll be under the radar, I don't know. I can tell you that I've been listening a lot to Jason Isbell's new album. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Jason Isbell and the 400 unit. He was in the Drive By Truckers, if you know them, but he's been a solo artist for a long time. He's kind of alt country Americana. There's I don't know, the new record's really good. It's both sensitive and kind of rocking. I am a big fan. Where did my list go? And let me see if I can find another one for you. This dude, Northcote. Do you know him? And Northcote, Cote. I think he's on Red Scare. He's kind of I think he's Canadian. I'm probably going to get some of these details wrong. He's got a great voice. He's kind of a folk singer, maybe more in the kind of Frank Turner kind of vibe where it's, he's got kind of punk roots, but like really good songs, really good melodies, kind of anthemic kind of choruses, stadium ready kind of choruses. And the record has a band and some production, but I think he tours. I forget the guy's name. But his sort of, art pen name, or, he puts out records under Northcote, COTE.
Check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I got for you.
I'm a huge fan.
I don't listen to a lot of punk rock and a lot of pop punk these days. I'll give stuff a spin, but there's just not a lot of stuff that really catches my interest. I mean, I'm like a perennial fan of like, Alkaline Trio, or of course I'll listen to new records from, Lagwagon, Strung Out, Good Riddance, all that stuff. I like the Menzingers. The Smoking Popes have a new single out, love the Smoking Popes. There's definitely a handful of bands that, I will always check out, but I don't, a couple of the newer punkish bands, I would say, one's called Martha. They're British. I don't know if you know Martha. They're cool, and also the Beths, who are from New Zealand. Neither of them are really like skate punk, more kind of like sort of a blend of indie and punk, but I listen to both of those records a lot, the Beths and Martha.
Awesome.
Have,
Yeah, we'll take that
have,
to the bank. I mean, we all evolved our music tastes over the years.
Totally.
Punk rock gave us a
have,
point, but I never in a million years thought I would dive into anything like Frank Turner. You mentioned Frank Turner, and
Yeah.
I've got Frank Turner on the line. I've got him direct, and I've said, "Hey, Frank, do an interview," and he says, "Yeah, I'd love to do it. Talk to my publicist," and the publicist says, sorry, I'm too busy. Or he's too busy. He can't do it. Like, all right, whatever. But even guys like Amigo the Devil is one that I have dove into over the last couple of years. And I've never, I was like, man, this is not really my style of music, but holy shit, this guy reaches me on a different level. So it's awesome. The music taste evolves, and Jason Isbell's great. I mean, I've heard his stuff too. But I'm looking forward to checking out some of these like Martha and Baff and stuff. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Dave, I want to thank you for coming on and spending your time with us. I'm beyond stoked, as I've said, about Diesel Boy being back, and I can't wait for you to come north of the border. Come up to Canada. We'll take care of you. We'll feed you poutine and fucking.
Dude, don't I know it?
Yeah.
I appreciate you remembering the band and you guys having us on. And I hope that when the record arrives, you maybe light a couple of candles and, get the mood just right.
I will. I'll sit right here in my chair and I'm going to put it on the table and I'm going to spin it and I'm going to tell everybody, leave me alone for an hour. I'm just going to.
I appreciate. Here's one thing that bugs me is that like when the promos for the record go out, like there's not a link to the lyrics. So I hope that you'll take the sleeve out and read the liner notes. There's a couple of Easter eggs in there which make me laugh, and I hope you'll appreciate. And then the other side has all the lyrics, so at least you can follow along as you listen. That's one. That'll be my joys as a music fan. Okay,
that'll be the second listen, because the first listen I will absorb. And then the second listen, I'll go into the notes, and I'm gonna have to at some point go, oh yeah, maybe Trevor had a little bit to do with that lyric, but it's just a nod to him. But even I had to bring it out because it's like this.
Look at that gorgeous thing.
This will spin on my table like regularly. It's such an amazing piece of art. It's one of my.
I signed a few of those on tour. It was nice to see.
If you come to SoCal, I will bring it with me, and I will have you sign it.
Yeah, for $15, we'll sign whatever you got.
I'll give you 20. I feel that good about it.
Thanks, you guys.
Dave, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.
Have yourself an awesome night. Thanks for watching. And
Sun's still out.